Hello, I'm Dr. Greg Allen, and I'm the director of Freedom4U. Welcome to our teen educational video series. On this video, you'll hear from some of our leadership teens as they talk about different life issues and give their personal advice. I hope you enjoy it.
I think one of the biggest things that I did to help with a lot of my stress and my anxiety was learning how to take a step back and breathe. Whether that's just meditating, whether that's just letting thoughts kind of like disappear in your head. When you feel really anxious, you kind of feel like your thoughts are going like a mile a minute, like there's like thousands of thoughts just happening at the same time. And I think it's really important that in order not to overwhelm ourselves, you take a step back from that. Maybe at nighttime before you go to bed, or maybe if you're feeling like really anxious, you can just like remove yourself from the situation and do this. And then I just kind of close my eyes and concentrate on my breathing. And eventually, because you're concentrating on your breathing, like thinking, breathing in, breathing out, like slowly, deeply, etc., that all your other thoughts kind of melt away because you're focusing on your breathing. And some people like to just do that. Other people like to fully meditate. I don't think I have like the awareness or like ability to sit still enough to do that, but just kind of letting those things float away will help you feel less overwhelmed. And then you can kind of start, after you're done breathing and doing breathing exercises, tackling those issues head on one by one rather than everything overwhelming you at once.
In terms of what new strategies that I've implemented in my life to be less stressed, I've really taken time to dive deep into the things that I'm passionate about and creative about, which I guess has always been important to me, but sometimes it can be hard to prioritize with everything that's going on, school, work. So making time for music, singing, talking with friends, even though with social distancing guidelines it can be kind of difficult, just making time to speak with people and reach out. And those types of things really have to be implemented in scheduling, because sometimes you just put it in the back end of your schedule because other things are more important, but it is important to prioritize your own needs as well.
Some things that I do to feel less stressed, as a person who gets stressed out a lot, I make to-do lists, and it just feels so good to be able to check off things throughout the day. And the key is adding a lot of like little things, like getting out of bed in the morning, having your lunch, taking a shower. It's the little things that will make you feel more accomplished throughout the day. And also just talking about how you're feeling, it takes the weight off your shoulders and you feel a bit more focused, so your thoughts aren't going everywhere. We all feel this way, and I think talking about how we're feeling is probably the best thing during this time.
In terms of coping with stress, taking a deep breath and spending a lot of time with myself really helps. Maybe going on a walk or sitting in the park over here in Boston is really nice. Maybe writing in a diary or doodling are really helpful ways for me to cope with stress.
I feel like the best way to help someone is when they're stressed out about something is to try to help them with what they're stressed out about. And if you can't help them with what they're stressed out about, maybe try to get out of their way, or see if you can get them like some food or water, or tell them to maybe take a break, because sometimes you don't realize how long you've been working on something, and taking a break can always help you calm down and feel less stressed.
I think personally the best way to help somebody else with their feeling of stress is listening to them and letting them just talk about how they feel and expressing themselves, and just see how it goes from there, because obviously every situation is different. But I think the best way is to talk to them and listen to them.
And to help those around me that are feeling stressed out, I like to offer just like for them to vent to me about it and see like what's causing all of these issues, and really just realize that in the grand scheme of things, like everything's gonna be okay. You just have to like compartmentalize and see what needs to get done first, usually when it involves like tasks or homework or things like that.
When I'm stressed, usually the first thing I do is find someone who I can just unleash to or rant to, whether that's over text or over a call, which is obviously ideal but sometimes not possible. It just really helps to kind of let all of it out to a third party who's not directly involved with whatever event or project or whatever you're stressing about. It's very cathartic to just, again, unleash, I think is a good word, especially if you're extremely stressed. And oftentimes if you share this stress with someone who you trust and who will listen to you, they'll either have maybe, hopefully, some good advice for you and maybe have been through a similar stress or experience, or if not, they'll just be someone who will support you and who will listen to you. And I think that either way, that's a win. And it helps to, for me at least, it kind of helps to clear your mind to just rant and let it out and get the frustration out.
In terms of how I express to others when I'm stressed out, usually I just say that I am, or tell like my roommates or people that are close to me that I'm stressed out, and they'll do like what I said and offer their support and see if there's anything that they can do. And
Ways that I cope with stress are to prepare ahead so as to try to stop the stress from ever occurring. If I know that I've studied for a test and know the material, this test will not stress me out.
I write to-do lists and I try and get things done earlier in the day so I'm not stressing about it at nighttime. That's a big challenge. If I am feeling overwhelmed or stressed, I journal. And I just try and figure out what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. And if after all of that I still don't feel better, then I'll go to my parents and talk it out, or I'll go to a friend. I'll call a friend. And also doing art helps. It's just a very grounding thing. It's very relaxing and healing. Also meditation. Meditation is really good. I totally recommend. It's very hard for some people, but you have to really get used to it and know like yourself in order to do it, so you know like what makes you feel better or not. So it's a good exercise.
to relieve that, usually I end up doing music or singing or drawing things and just taking time to maybe watch a TV show.
I feel like the best way to cope with stress when you're stressed out about something is either ask someone around you to try to help you out and see if they can help you with something that you're stressed out about, and or take a break, do something that you enjoy for 30 minutes, an hour, like hang out with other people, and it can always make you less stressed. And if you're at the point where like you have to do something, have to get something down, always take like deep breaths and just try to calm yourself down.
Okay, so especially in this crazy COVID-19 time and in high school overall, there are so many stresses coming at you at all times. You are expected to be completely active all the time and getting everything done, and it can be a lot. So I've definitely experienced this, especially taking a lot of AP and honors classes throughout high school, being involved in every club, being super involved in the drama department at my high school. It was a lot and it got super overwhelming, super long days. But I think that a lot of things that constantly helped me were music, being creative, songwriting, expressing myself through that. I love listening to music. It literally helps me feel better, even when I don't feel like anything can make me feel better. If I put on my favorite song and just listen to it and really, really connect with it, I instantly feel better. And songwriting, I think it's been such an amazing way for me to express myself, and just a new way to manage my stress and get out my feelings. So finding something that you really, really love and that makes you happy no matter what kind of mood you're in is really important. I also think getting outside when I could was really, really helpful to me. Going for a walk with my dog, or a run, or a bike ride, anything that always made me feel better. The sweat and everything, the endorphins, it's really helpful, and that was something that kept me sane throughout high school. I've also been meditating a lot during this time. There are a lot of apps that have guided meditations, like I use the Calm app and the Stop, Breathe, and Think app, and they are both super awesome. Low stress, like 5 to 10 minutes of meditating a day, and I've really seen a change in how my mind deals with stress, and I get a lot less panicked when a new situation or something comes my way. I feel a lot more at peace, and I didn't think it would work at first, but my friend recommended it to me, and it's been amazing. Yeah, and I think just talking about it also really helps, formulating it into words, getting it out of your head and talking to someone, or writing it down. I have a journal that I just use whenever I'm feeling too many feelings. But yeah, having parents, or I still reach out to my counselor that I had in high school, and my really good friends, I always feel like I can call them, and so having relationships that you feel comfortable opening up to is really helpful with coping with stress. And I think keeping it all bundled up inside is not the best way to deal with it, and even if it feels like hard to talk about it or do something about it, it will change your life.
I've kind of learned that if someone wants to see you, they will also make effort to see you. It's a two-way street, and you should definitely reach out to people that you want to see, and social distance, maybe go on a walk with, put on your mask, do something that's safe for everyone involved. But in order to maintain your mental health, it's really important to interact with people. I got stuck in kind of a whirlwind of emotions when I would just be alone and kind of wallowing. So I think reaching out to people is really important, because a lot of the times they're going through the same thing as you. You're just not communicating about it. So communication is really important when it comes to reaching out to friends during social distancing.
Yes, I do. It took a long time for me to get used to that, because at first I was thinking that I could handle everything by myself, all of my feelings. I either pushed it down for later, which is a bad idea, or I just try to work it out in my head and be my own therapist in that way. I still kind of do that, but I also get the help from my friends and family if I need anything, and it's so relieving to know that I have such a huge support system, because a few years ago I didn't know that, and I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that it was a normal thing for people to do, to ask for help. And it's so important, and it makes you feel so much better.
Exercising is a big thing about relieving stress. So just maybe running, get endorphins, like going, like lifting weights, playing sports with your friends, once COVID's over, or just doing anything, dancing, like anything like that will release endorphins naturally and make you feel better. And, exercise is always a good thing. So whether you're just getting up and doing like a quick lap or like a quick little dance sesh, like all of those things will like release endorphins and make you feel a little bit better.
I like to go outside and play sports, or even do something as simple as walking my dog. Sometimes a bit of fresh air helps me feel so much better and gives me time to think and relax.
I do art in different ways. Sometimes it's singing a song, or it's dancing in my bedroom, or it's doing some art or calligraphy. Just trying to do anything to keep busy and yeah, just creating things. It really is just grounding and it's really relieving to do.
For me, at least, things that help me de-stress are things that I can put all of my focus and all my attention into. For example, for me, when I'm stressed with school or with work, my go-to is piano. I love being able to work slowly, measure by measure, to finish one piece and eventually be able to play the entire piece and know it very well. And I also love doing puzzles. I started out with like 500-piece puzzles, and then I moved up to 1,000, and now I'm on 1,500, and I plan on going up by 500 pieces each time, I guess, now. But I love those kinds of things where your focus is entirely shifted onto this one thing. There's nothing else, no other noise, no other stress going on besides learning this one measure, learning this one piece, or finishing this one puzzle. And those are just a couple examples, but those are usually the kinds of things that I gravitate towards when I'm stressed.
Well, school is usually my major stress point. At the moment, it's applying for colleges and just the unknown in general of not knowing where I'm going to be, not knowing what's going on with the pandemic. It's a big stress point for me at the moment, but yeah, I'm trying to deal with it in the best way I can, and it's hanging in there, journaling a lot, and yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind when I think of something that makes me stressed is airplanes, which I think that a lot of people that know me would think that that's insane, because a lot of what I've been doing the past couple of years involves a lot of air travel, but it's true, and I hate airplanes very much. But at the same time, I think the fact that I have one of my goals was to go through an educational path and career path that would allow me to travel a lot. And that is what I've been doing, and well knowing that I don't like airplanes at all and they give me really bad anxiety, but I kind of also consider this as one of my biggest accomplishments, because for me, even though maybe it's not as big of a deal for other people who don't have this same stress or this same anxiety, but for me it's really an accomplishment. But it just goes to show that everyone has something they're stressed about, and it feels like an obstacle, and sometimes it is, but that never means that you can't tackle it. It's really, really difficult. The anxiety and the stress doesn't immediately go away, but it's definitely something you can work through.
Maybe any people that are not really like looking out for me or have my best interest at heart, or sometimes school can be a stressful place, even though it's remote most of the time. Just being around certain people, just like too many people during COVID, can feel like very stressful and like anxiety inducing, and usually I just try and remove myself from the situation.
When I'm feeling overwhelmed, the first person I talk to is probably my sister. She is a major support system for me, and I rely on her a lot.
And when I'm overwhelmed, usually the first person that I talk and tell them how I feel is either my mom, I'll probably call my mom and tell her about it. My best friends, like the 2 people I live with, or my boyfriend. And I just kind of tell them how I feel when I'm overwhelmed. And I appreciate it when they just listen and I can just talk for as long as I need to without feeling like I'm burdening anyone or making them uncomfortable or feel like I'm taking away their time. And usually they listen and I can tell that they're listening. And then they'll just tell me the best ways to go about those feelings. And honestly, after I speak with them, I feel a lot better in general.
The best way that I've found to avoid feeling too much stress is doing things a little bit at a time and not just racing through it, because then you're just all over the place, you're overwhelmed, and it doesn't feel good. You're not doing your best work. So just doing things a little bit, taking a little break, and just a little bit at a time is probably the best way to not get stressed out.
In avoiding stress, I like to keep a planner, even though we have like Google calendars and a bunch of e-calendars and ways to like schedule yourself. I always like having a paper calendar. Something about writing things down helps me remember them better and makes me feel more organized when I have it on paper rather than in a computer somewhere. It's more tangible and I can look at it instead of like looking for it online. Like I usually know exactly where my planner is. To relieve stress, usually I can also go exercising, which helps. Like maybe since going outside can be a little difficult and running with a mask is kind of hard, I do workout videos inside, and I like doing like dance ones because that's what gets me more excited about working out, is moving to music. And just picking workout videos are things that I'm actually excited to do that don't necessarily feel like a chore. Yeah.
When my friends are upset, I let them know that I'm there for them, and I let them talk it out and vent to me if they want. And if they don't want to vent, because sometimes some people don't want to do that, then I'm there. There's their distraction, or if they just want a hug, just anything. Of course not during the pandemic, but whatever they need, I'm there for them and I let them know that.
And when my friends are upset or sad, usually I give them a hug, but with COVID, it depends. But since I'm living with some of my friends, I'll hug them. And then I just let them talk to me about how they're feeling and what's going on, and I'll give whatever advice I can to make them feel better. If they need anything like food, or if they have any like chores to take care of, maybe I take that on because I'm having a better day.
I think the biggest thing that you can do is listen to their stressors, listen to what's bothering them, and just understanding your friend. There are 2 types of people who want advice and people who just want people to listen. That's generally how it goes. You knowing your friends should kind of be able to like feel it out, whether or not you think that they just need a listener or whether they want actual advice from you. But just try and be aware of which of those 2 things that they need, and just like be there for them. Always listen to them. Give them advice if you think that that is applicable, but sometimes they just want somebody to listen and like really listen, not just kind of like, yeah, and then wait for your turn to interject with your story, but truly listen to like what they're feeling and like what their stressors and like what's going on in their life.